Frank McCourt tells us of his life in such a way we can't help but continue to carry what we've learned inside our heads for the rest of our lives. The hardships that he has had to endure make our troubles seem minuscule in comparison. He has certainly done an excellent job of grabbing our sympathetic ears to read about his hard and depressing childhood. His writing style does its job in capturing our attention and influencing us to continue reading his story. His use of description and dialogue make it so that no matter what events occur, it's Frank we feel more sorry for. Frank that many of us find we can relate to in some way. When I look back on my childhood, I wonder how I survived it all. It was, of course, a miserable childhood. The happy childhood is hardly worth your while. Worse than the ordinary miserable childhood is the miserable Irish childhood, and worse yet is the miserable Irish Catholic childhood. This is a quote from page 1. This quote speaks volumes about the hardships of Frank McCourt's life. It was, of course, a miserable childhood. We cannot help but admire the strength of Frank. He survived what most children today would have not. Many of us don't have any troubles or hardships that can even begin to compare to what he was forced to endure. A father who wasted his money on drink, a mother who was constantly falling apart, poverty, and adults who seemed to view him as a nuisance, always blaming him for things that were not his fault. I believe that reading this book shall most likely be one of the hardest things I will ever have to do, for the sadness it contains, the hardships, may become more than I can bear to read without becoming an emotional mess. This book certainly takes a toll on your heart. I can honestly say that I've had trouble trying to keep myself from crying over these past pages. The way he writes brings you right into his childhood as if you were there standing next to him. You know that you have captured your reader's attention when they are able to feel such emotion that brings them to tears. He writes as if he is telling you the story in person. I can picture right now this little kid telling me about his life, and it just about breaks my heart. However, there are parts that make me laugh, little drops of happiness written on the pages. I have to tell you, it's those little drops of happiness that keep me from being able to continue on without bawling like a baby. Anyone can see why I wanted your kiss. It had to be, and the reason is this. Could it be true someone like you could love me, love me? A song that his mother sings on the rare moments of joy. When his father brings home his wages and there's food and bathing all around. However, I don't foresee any more happy singing in the future. His mother has lost her baby girl, a girl that brought the best out in her husband. Her husband loved the little girl so much he stopped drinking and brought home his wages every week. This girl's death brought back the lack of wages and the return of the drink. The loss of a child must be an unbearable thing, a feeling I hope never to experience. The mother stays in bed crying all the time, and the father drinks as much as he can. There are still 4 children at home. Poor boys neglected, forced to starve and remain unclean. The loss of a child must be hard, but how can they ignore the others? How can they let them starve? They continued on with this behavior, so their relatives came and got them tickets to go live with their grandmother in Ireland, where hopefully things will get better. Everything just seems to keep going downhill for Frank McCourt. There are hardly any peaceful times, and he seems to be constantly in a state of distress. His family has now moved back to Ireland, and things seem to be going okay for the moment. However, his family is forced to rely on only 19 shillings a week and the charity of the local church. They must all sleep in one bed that is often filled with fleas. Now his brother Oliver is very sick. He won't even eat. I fear the worst. I don't know how Frank was able to get up every day. A life this troubled, I think, might have been too much for me. He certainly inspires me, for even though his life was troubled, he was still able to laugh and play with his brothers. This book certainly makes you think about what's really important and how we should be thankful for everything we have. It didn't matter that there were 6 of us in the bed. We were together, away from grandmothers and guards. Malachi could say yee yee yee, and we could laugh as much as we liked. The moments that make life worthwhile, these moments are what I'm sure kept Frank McCourt going throughout his childhood. Frank McCourt may have been living through the Depression and times were tough, but he was still able to crack a smile. He was indeed a strong child and later became a strong man. I admire Mr. McCourt so much. He is an inspiration to us all, that even when times are hard, we can still find it within ourselves to smile. Reading this book has certainly changed my views on a lot of things. Like, I know that I complain a lot about stuff in my childhood, and I know that other people do, but reading about this and how life was for him during the Great Depression, it really makes me think. And the way that he tells it makes me feel like I'm right there with him, like I'm experiencing all these things, and like I can honestly say that it's been hard to keep myself from crying. And he writes it, so well, and it's like he's telling you the story. It's like you're sitting there with him and he's remembering back all those times and talking about his brothers and his mom and his dad and how hard things were, but also how good things were at times too. Like, things were really hard for him. Like, they had to sleep, 6 of them had to sleep in the same bed, with fleas and everything. It was really, really cold there. They had to shave their heads, They had to rely on the church for charity. Shopkeepers would try to cheat them. It was just so awful. And then his mother loses another child, and he must have been one strong man, because I think it takes a lot of courage and determination to be able to make it through something like that. And he's reading through this. He's really he be gone, but he still continues to inspire me, and I'm sure everyone else who's read this book, he's inspired them too to be strong. And it reminds me of a time when I was really depressed, and I'm really glad that I have, even though he's gone, I have someone that I can remember that their life was 10 times harder than mine, and that he still got up every day and took care of his brothers and helped his mom and his dad. And I know that if he can do that, I can get up every day and smile and just, laugh and have good times. This book is certainly, to me, a life-changing experience. I'm really glad that I picked this book to read. It's really changed me as a person, and I can't wait to read the rest of it.